Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's about 8 o'clock on the 23rd. I know probably most people will be listening to this tomorrow, Christmas Eve. Safe travels. I know a lot of people drive to grandma's house or wherever you might end up tomorrow. So be safe on all your travels this week for the next few days and enjoy time with the people that are special to you. It's not always family. I know a lot of people, friends, and everything, just whoever is important to you, that's who you want to see and spend time with this time of year. That's the most important part. We do welcome Trev back. He is having a little bit of issues with his technology because of work. So he is sound, but no video this week. And that's okay. We do appreciate him. We're going to kind of go to Trevor first, and we're just get a recap of the last few weeks. We had 1 week where it was just me because of a last minute work thing for him. And then we had Trevor, he was gone 1 week for work. And so we had Zach. So it's been a few weeks. Actually, Wednesday night we did a podcast, and then Thursday is when all the Matt Campbell stuff came up. And then Friday he was gone. So recap your thoughts from the outside of the Iowa State situation from then until now.
Well, yeah, it feels like it's been a month since I've been on here. So it just about has been. The last podcast we did, I think I drove 6,000 miles just about in the last 4 weeks. So been busy traveling. Yeah, I remember the last podcast we did, you brought up Matt Campbell as a potential candidate for Penn State. And I saw him on some lists. And the thing about Matt Campbell is everybody had his name listed, but it felt like just a name to put to fill a spot.
Yep.
Because he could have left 5 years ago. So, surprising yes and no, because like I said, he could have left a long time ago. But, yeah, it was kind of crazy because the day after we did our last podcast, he was gone. So it's kind of rough for Iowa State fans, obviously. In my opinion, the best coach that they've ever had.
Yep.
Put a lot of guys in the NFL, all those type of things. You've got all the players with the transfer portal going on, and who's going where, who's staying. It's a bit of a mess, and that's just the world of college football right now.
Yeah, it's just, and Murph and Andy and the other Iowa Everywhere people, and Travis and Ross, and during this whole time, we just talked. It hasn't happened to Iowa yet because we've had the consistent coaching. Matt Campbell has been here for 10 years. Kirk Ferentz has been here for 27. You always have a guy here or there that does the transfer portal, but usually it's not your biggest guys or your quote-unquote best guys. It's guys that you understand, well, maybe they got passed up or they needed to do a better for their family or whatever. You kind of understood. But it wasn't your best guy, and you knew that Kirk Ferentz and Matt Campbell would bring in another guy that would be almost as good. That you just had that belief. Well, now Iowa State's in this situation. We don't know. I'll be 100% honest. With Rocco Becht leaving this week, our quarterback is not going to be as good as Rocco Becht. And it's hard to justify that in your head, as that's an improvement. He left, and I don't blame him for leaving. Your coach left, your offensive coordinator left, your quarterback coach left. It sounds like the offense that Jimmy Rodgers is bringing in is not as conducive to his skill set. They want to run the ball more. He is trying to set himself up to go to the NFL and have a shot in the NFL. He's not a surefire NFL guy. And if NFL is not in his future, you can't blame him for trying to get as much money as he can right now. The big word around Iowa State is everybody took less to stay at Iowa State. Well, now you don't have to. I assume he's going to go to Penn State, but if he doesn't and he goes and gets $3 million from whoever, good for him, but it just sucks.
Yeah, it's the bad part about all this in college football right now. And I was going to ask you, obviously Penn State's the favorite to land him, I would assume, but is West Virginia in play?
I would think they would have to be a little bit in play. That's where his dad played. They had a freshman quarterback that wasn't horrible. Obviously, they're not as good. That would be a big upgrade. I don't know their NIL situation. If I'm Rocco Becht, though, I'm not going. I'm going somewhere where, one, I can win, and two, I'm going to get a lot of money, and three, set yourself up for the NFL. And I just saw where his dad, stepped down from the St. Louis Battlehawks and has taken over the Orlando team. It's an expansion team in that league. So everybody's getting to Florida with the family. Obviously with them being in St. Louis in the spring and everything, it was much closer here to Iowa State. And then with him leaving, I think there was he doesn't deserve it to tell us this, and Coach Rogers doesn't deserve to tell us this. But you wonder, and I'm just one of those, I want to know the backstory. What was the conversation? Was it like? Did Coach Rogers tell him, hey, this may not be the best situation for you? Or was Becht like, I'm out, I don't care? Was it that simple, or was it, this was really hard for me, but Coach Campbell says I can go to Penn State and I'm just more comfortable there? He doesn't owe any of us that, but I'd like to know what the actual conversation is.
Yeah, it seemed like Rocco Becht stuck around. Now, obviously, they had classes still, so the calendar worked out that way. And he probably wanted to meet the coach, get to talk to him. I would assume they met at least once, if not multiple times, and kind of get a feel for what the plan was, what the system's going to be like. So that's probably why Rocco Becht didn't make an instant decision, which is nice. But, yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, yeah, my guess would be Penn State, or if he doesn't go to Penn State, of course, West Virginia, like I said, is in play. But I wonder if some other schools that would be out there looking to get him. I mean, have you heard any rumors for Becht?
No, I have not. And it's a crowded quarterback room.
It is, yeah.
I mean, Sam Leavitt, Josh Hoover, just there's Sorensby from Cincinnati. And you just wonder, I've heard a couple people say Iowa. One, I don't think if he was going to go to Iowa, actually, I think Iowa State's offense is going to look more like Iowa's, where it's run heavy, play action pass. And then two, I don't think he would do this. And then the other thing about all this is in all their, Iowa State's part of their song is Loyal Sons Forever True. And they're all putting this in their goodbye letter. Well, they're not loyal anymore. And I don't blame them, but they're not. Stop putting it in there. They're loyal to a coach. They're loyal to the football program. They're not loyal to Iowa State. If they're loyal to Iowa State, he has one more year left. He had a chance, and I don't know if you listened to my solo podcast on this, but he had a chance to go down as the greatest quarterback in Iowa State history, and he chose not to come back. And then here's the other thing. Does he know? I'll be honest, on the offensive side of the ball, he's the only player that has left so far that you're kind of sad about. Now, today, one of the receivers left, but I do think receivers are it is what it is. And then if he stays, does some of the other guys stay? But the two running backs are back. The tight ends have all stayed so far. I believe I'd be shocked if they all come back. But as of today, the two running backs and the two tight ends are all coming back. So I don't know what that says. And that's where I wonder if it isn't Jimmy Rogers almost not wanting him there in a little bit. I'm not saying that he said he's going to go, but did he say this may not be the best situation for you? Because as long as Rocco Becht is there, he will be compared to Matt Campbell even more than he is right now.
Yeah, you're right. That puts Rogers in a tough spot a little bit, because if Rocco Becht regresses significantly, he gets blamed for it. As far as Rocco going to Iowa, I don't see that.
I don't either. But
I would look at Miami actually, because Becht is going to graduate, and aren't Rocco's Bechts? Do they live in Florida?
Yeah, they're from Tampa. He grew up in the Tampa area.
Okay, so I mean, that could be an option, obviously, with Becht going to the NFL. whenever their season ends, probably, their next game. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But, yeah, it's a weird situation. I know I haven't been on here since it happened, but you can't blame Campbell for taking Penn State. I know you and Zach talked about a couple things. First of all, should he maybe waited another week? Because then Michigan would have been open.
Yeah, that's what I had this. I was talking to my principal, and deep down, I'm sure he's happy at Penn State, and I just don't see how he would go to Michigan now. But deep down, when he's sitting in bed at night, maybe with his wife, or maybe just sitting by himself for just a little bit, because they're working 22 hours a day right now. I mean, they really are. And is he just sitting to himself? You got to be freaking kidding me, because I did learn this over this time that he grew up in Ohio, but he grew up a Michigan fan, not an Ohio State fan, which is kind of weird. But
okay, so that makes it even more of a potentially a regret. Josh Pate brought this up, but in a perfect world, Michigan is probably a better job than Penn State. But right now, in this current state, it's not because of the mess they have going on.
Right. No, I don't know if it's still a job you leave Penn State to go to Michigan State in 3 years. Maybe it is, and maybe that's your dream job. And speaking of just, let's talk the Michigan job through a little bit here. Jeff Brom, who won their bowl game today, is in play there. I still think Kalen DeBoer is in play there. He has not came out and said he's not going. And the longer that Michigan doesn't have a coach, I think they really want him. I don't know if they're going to be able to get him, but I do think if Alabama would have lost that job, I think he would have been the Michigan coach right then and there. I think this is lasting it a little bit longer, and it would not shock me one bit if they beat Indiana.
It wouldn't shock me either. And desperate people, desperate teams, we talk about in the NFL, they do desperate things. So if they were to lose to Indiana in their next game, Michigan could, way overpay for them.
Oh,
I'm not saying it'd be right or wrong, but they could empty the tank and try to get him. It'd be more of a natural fit probably from where he's from, a little less pressure, even though Michigan is a big-time job, it's not the pressure of Alabama because Alabama went from Saban to, DeBoer, which
Michigan doesn't have 7 national championships in the last 15 years.
Exactly. And in my opinion, even if DeBoer wins one national title at Alabama, massive success to me.
Absolutely.
But, they won't look at it that way. So, I mean, it'll all depend. I do think Alabama might. Maybe it's the name I'm thinking of, when it comes to them versus Indiana. But I do think they have a chance to win that game. But, yeah, that's probably their number one target. And then if he denies them officially, then you start going down the list. Obviously, Campbell is at Penn State. Right now, given the current situation in Michigan, I don't think he's going to leave this year.
Does Michigan make the call?
To who?
Matt Campbell.
Oh,
do you make the call?
I'm sure they have or will. Yeah, absolutely.
And then here's the other thing, and I do know this will see what kind of person Lane Kiffin really. If DeBoer leaves and Alabama calls Kiffin, surely he goes to Alabama, doesn't he?
Well, it'd be he can't be any more hated than he is right now. So I guess why not? Right? Why not do it?
There's a lot of people think the LSU job is the best job in the entire country. If there's one job that might be better, it might be Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he's at a point now where he may as well quit running from it, and he may as well feed into who he is and his history, and just accept it and feed into it. I think people would probably respect that more anyway in the long run. So, yeah, I mean, most likely. It's my guess, of course. I would say DeBoer stays at Alabama, no matter what happens.
Right. He's just going to parlay it into more money at Alabama. I don't.
Yeah, and then Michigan hires Brom or someone like that, or maybe they do an intern for a year and then hope that there's a really good candidate the following year.
I can't remember who I was listening to. I listened to too many podcasts and too many people. I forget. It kind of all runs together. But this was a really good thought. Kyle Whittingham, retired from Utah, but it's kind of been hinted that maybe it wasn't all his decision and he doesn't want to be done. And he would be a great hire at Michigan for like a 3 to 5 year deal, just to get away from the scandal and the Harbaugh situation and just start new. He's never been in any trouble at Utah. He's had huge success. He won the Pac-12. It's not like he hasn't had success. I think if they would have beat BYU, which looking back, they probably were a better team, and they only had their 2 losses to Texas Tech, they might have been in the playoff with those 2 losses only if they would have went the second time better against Texas Tech. I think that would be a good hire for them. And I mean, obviously Fitzgerald's already went to Michigan State, but somebody more like that that's just steady, not the big name, but just someone to get you away from the Harbaugh, Sharon Moore scandal time and cheating time and probation, whatever's all coming.
I like the idea of that a lot, actually. That's a really good idea. Like you said, 3 to 5 years. It's going to be 5 years max, probably. Like he's a grown up, as far as I know. No scandals or anything like that.
Yep.
That would actually be a really damn good hire, because I did see some rumors coming out that he still does want to coach.
Yep.
And that would actually probably be the perfect, if you can't get Kiffin or Matt Campbell or someone like that, or DeBoer, of course.
Right.
That might be the perfect hire for like a 3 to 5 year period, like you mentioned.
And that's, I mean, now Michigan's a job you could go there and stay, but those pressure packed jobs like that, that's all you can expect someone to do. Because let's say Kalen DeBoer does go to Michigan and he wins 1 national title. He gets to another national title game during that time. And I don't know what his aspirations are, but he would have every chance to go to the NFL that he wants, or any job in college football. And some people just want to move. They just, and Lane Kiffin is one of them. I don't care what anybody says. Some of them hasn't always been his choice, but he's a mover. He doesn't want to stay anywhere very long.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. No, that's exactly right. Some of these coaches, they, in the moment, they probably say they want to be there and stay there and all these things. Right. But deep down, they're just movers, like you call them. They want to climb the ladder. They want to keep taking the next big job, stuff like that. But yeah, Whittingham at Michigan, that's an interesting one. I'm
not going to take credit for that, but I do really like it.
No, that would almost feel like best case scenario at this point.
Oh, I agree. I mean,
if they could get him, that would be a good one, because I don't think he would be a disaster. I don't know if he's going to get him to a national title or anything like that.
He'd steady the ship.
Yep. With all the problems that they got going on, that'd be pretty good at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, that one came up, and I wish I could credit who said it. I just forget who it was, but whoever brought that up, that was a really good idea.
Just put your name on it. No one will say nothing.
Yeah. All right, I do. I pulled out the glass here. I don't know if you guys can see that super well, but it's the Alamo Bowl 2018, Washington State versus Iowa State. Now they're much more connected. Washington State won their bowl game yesterday in decisive fashion. Great defense, which is their defense. Their guy that was running the team is now Iowa State's defensive coordinator. And obviously, their head coach was the D coordinator at South Dakota State before. I'm not worried about the defense, but I'm super worried about the offense just going forward. I don't know. Our best players aren't going to come back. And like we talked about it already, but and then also just looking at that cup, I was reaching up and getting a glass, and I'm going to grab that one. And then Mike Leach, obviously we lost him a few years ago during this time, just a few weeks ago. I think it was like December 15th or whatever. He was a coach. I went down there, and I've also seen pictures of our trip. My kids were, 7 years younger. They were 6 and 11, and now they're 17 and, 13. So it's just different. And the time frame just kind of bring it back a little bit. And San Antonio is a great town. I don't know if you've ever been there, Trev, but it's a really good town. I wouldn't mind going back there sometime.
San Antonio is one of the few big cities I haven't been to. I've drove around it a couple times, and no, that's the Riverwalk. I always hear people talking about that, how awesome it is. I see pictures and videos, of course, online now. You can basically see any big city you want without actually going,
right?
which is
Absolutely.
Nice. No, that's college football is in a weird way right now. I mean, Nick Wright brought this up a few days ago. Because I'm changing subject a little bit, or changing direction we're going.
Nope, you're good.
He said, the point of expanding the playoff was to have a year like this where you have an undefeated. Now, we would have never thought this, but you have undefeated Indiana,
right?
And then you have like 6 teams that could all make an argument that they should have been the top 4, right? If it would have been the 4-team format. So the expanded playoff was meant to help this type of year out. The problem is we've got these G5 teams in, and obviously they didn't put up much of a show, which is not surprising. But yeah, college football is a mess. They need a Dana White or somebody, a central leader, Nick Saban, whoever it's going to be, to lay the law down. Kind of a, like we like to joke out with Zach, a Roger Goodell type of guy.
Yep.
And someone's going to have to just say, hey, we're doing this or we're not doing it, and be the bad guy.
Yep.
And take the bullets. But right now that's not happening. So, what's your thoughts on the playoffs right now? Because obviously we haven't spoke since before the games got played, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately Tulane. I mean, you knew those games were going to be like that. Unfortunately, the Tulane and Ole Miss had already happened. Now, I think Tulane earned its way in there. They beat Duke. I mean, it's not like, the ACC champion got beat by Tulane. So, I mean, the argument that Tulane shouldn't have been over Duke that's not an argument. Head-to-head happened.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was James Madison.
It
wasn't Tulane. And then the other problem is James Madison and Tulane and Ole Miss all have new coaches, and their coaches all left. I don't care what you say, that affects it. James Madison's coaches probably didn't even fly home with the team. He probably went straight down to UCLA. I mean, that's just the reality of today's, because all the players just go straight home. School is probably over. I mean, it's just the reality of what happens in college football. The calendar is the worst part. And I did, again, I listened to too many things. I don't remember who said this too. This would have been good too, is why don't we have James Madison and Tulane play to get in, almost like a 13-team playoff, the top 2 G5s play to get in and be the 12 seed. So you have that chance still, but only one team ever gets in, and they've earned their way into the tournament, just like the 2 16 seeds now in the NCAA basketball tournament have to do, which I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think it should be the 16s. If you win your conference tournament, the rule in the NCAA basketball tournament has always been you're in the tournament. That should all be 11, 11 seeds battling it out. The 7th place team in the Big Ten and the SEC and the Big 12, those middle tier teams that, are probably pretty good, but just, that 29-7 team that won the MEAC should be in the tournament on Friday and, Thursday or Friday. They shouldn't be playing Tuesday night, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't mind the idea of that. Like you said, have those 2 teams play for a play-in game, and then of course that would have allowed another team in.
Notre Dame would have been in then. Notre Dame's better than all those teams. Texas is better. Yeah, I mean, if you want the best teams, then we're not doing it that way. The rules of engagement as they are right now, the rules of the CFP, that's what you're going to get. And then the people saying that the first round of blowouts, well, we've had blowouts before with some of the top teams. Ohio State got beat by Clemson by 35 one year. Obviously TCU got beat by Georgia by almost 60 in the national championship game. So I mean, blowouts have happened, but you didn't necessarily think they were going to be blowouts before they even started. This one, you knew they were going to be blowouts, and they were. You look at the James Madison game, it got a little bit closer. It was 34-3. That game was over. Oregon just wanted to get out of there.
Yeah, and you can't blame Oregon. Young kid.
Nope, because it doesn't matter. There's no style points anymore. Now it is just win and move on.
Yeah,
you're in.
Pretty much. No, that's exactly right. I mean, that you get like a James Madison like that, and Oregon. I mean, you got one team that's got far superior athletes, and they're going to take their foot off the gas when they're up like that.
And that's the problem with the whole thing is Oregon versus James Madison. And it doesn't have to be Oregon. It could have been Texas. It could have been Ole Miss. It doesn't matter. The players that are playing at James Madison cannot even play at Oregon. I mean, they would be on the sideline. There's about 3 kids on James Madison that would even saw the field for Oregon. That's the problem with bringing those G5 teams in.
So what's your prediction on the games?
I wish they were this weekend and not all the way till middle of next week. That's another whole issue. This doesn't have to last till January 19th. They could have played them. They could play this Friday and Saturday again, but they are just so scared of the NFL. It's just so, it's just ridiculous in my opinion. But I think these games are going to be really, really good. I'm going to take Texas Tech, and I'm biased. I want the Big 12. The Big 12 needs this.
I knew you were going to take Tech. You had to.
Yeah, I have to now. And I do think it's going to be a good game. I do. Oregon's going to give them everything they have. Absolutely. This is not going to be Texas Tech rolling Oregon. I don't think. Never say never, but I also don't think Oregon's going to roll Tech, which could happen.
It should be a great game.
Should be a great game. It's going to come down to who makes a mistake or who makes the play. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a mistake. A punt return or a punt block or just who's going to make the play. Because I think they're both really good. I do think both of those teams could win it. I don't think all the teams left can win it. I think those two could win it.
Yeah, to me, like Ole Miss.
Ole Miss can't win it.
That'd be a Disney moving ending if Ole Miss was to win it.
Absolutely would. But they can't win it. They could maybe win this next one. I don't think they will. But I don't think they can win 3 more games.
But I believe in my opinion, I think all the other teams could, though, if they get the right matchups. Or, excuse me, Miami's not going to. So
Miami's not winning.
Miami's not winning at all. No, but the other 6, I should say, I think would all have a chance. Some have better chances than other. When you're talking about that Oregon-Texas Tech game, I'm, of course, going to pick Oregon because I think they have more talent on both sides. But that's going to be a close one. Texas Tech it's kind of a wild card because they brought in all the great players, but of course they play in the Big 12. So a lot of people, right or wrong, are kind of counting them out because they're a Big 12 team, and we'll find out. You said it right though. That it's a big game for the Big 12 with them.
They need to win this game really, really bad. Kind of going back real quick, Oklahoma's like 0-5 now in the playoff because they never won one in the Big 12 either. And they had some big leads just like this one and blew them. Here's if Texas Tech would win this, and this isn't even a Big 12 thing. This is if Texas Tech could win this whole thing, this goes to show you that history doesn't matter. Conference doesn't matter. There's only one thing that matters in college football now. That is resources. Mm-hmm. If Texas Tech wins, that proves that you can buy a championship.
Yeah,
proves it.
Absolutely.
And I think if Indiana wins it, it proves it as well.
Yeah, same thing. If you get the right coach and you have enough people that are willing to donate money, we didn't even speak about him yet. Dillingham, re-signed up at Arizona State, and he's begging for money right after.
How about that? You just got re-upped for $7.5 million a year, and you are begging for someone to write a $20 million check. And here's the problem with that. Okay, so someone writes you a $20 million check. The next year, you're going to ask for that same check again.
That's only 1 year. That's not every year. It's not like the NFL where these owners get, $200 or $300 million checks coming their way every year,
Yeah.
and if there's a salary cap and all that type of stuff, that's a more long-winded conversation. But yeah, Texas Tech and Indiana, I mean, both of them can really prove some stuff in this new age. And what's going to be tough for people like you and me, or people that are older than us, is we look at the logo on the helmet and we kind of judge it by that. And that's how it always was. Nowadays, I mean, you could put any logo you want, as long as you have enough money, you get the coach right. You still have to be good. I mean, you can't have some bum out there coaching the team or playing, but if you've got the right resources, like you mentioned, the logo on the helmet doesn't matter as much as it used to.
No, not at all. I mean, if the logo mattered, Alabama, would be right there, even though they have 3 losses. And that's why they're in the play. They're in the playoff because they are Alabama. Don't kid yourself with the 3 losses. Texas is a logo, but their 3 losses, they couldn't overcome Alabama. I mean, that's what it came down to. They couldn't overcome, even though they didn't even play this year. But yeah, the college football is just in a bad spot. I mean, it just is. Iowa State, the reason their players are leaving now is they don't have any loyalty to Coach Rogers to take a pay cut to stay. They're like, well, if I go, let's just use Ben Bramer, who has not announced he's leaving, so I have no idea. But he would be one of the top tight ends in the portal. I would assume he goes to Penn State for sure. He would be my number one guy that if I had to take one guy to Penn State, that's who I would want to take. He's really good. But, let's just say he got $450,000 from Iowa State. On the open market, it's $800,000. And then maybe at Penn State, he could get $600,000, And if Matt Campbell is still the coach, he would have probably taken $450,000 again from Iowa State. But he's not going to now. He's like, heck with that. I'm out. And you can't blame him. And I think that's happening at Iowa right now. It's, hey, Kirk Ferentz, I know what I'm going to get with him. I know the coaching staff. I know they're going to get me to the NFL as long as I do everything right. That's another topping point that wasn't even on my list, but the Hawkeyes have a whole bunch of Pro Bowlers and everything. And now here's the argument, and I don't know the answer to this. This was on Murph and Andy today, or maybe it was yesterday. What is today? Today's Tuesday, right?
Tuesday, yep. Feels like a Friday.
Yeah, I know. It's been weird. I had to work this week because we actually had school. I think this was Travis and Ross this morning. That this is interesting. So the Hawkeyes have, All-Americans and Pro Bowlers, as many as anybody almost. As all, they're right up there with Alabama and Georgia. And same thing with number of wins and 10-win seasons in a row. But where's the disconnect where Iowa hasn't had the success on the football field that those other teams had? Is it simply the quarterback position?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I would say, most years 70, 89% comes down to the quarterback position. We all know Iowa and Kirk Ferentz, they put a ton of pros in the league. You talked about it, Pro Bowlers and all that type of stuff. Iowa runs a very old school pro system at Iowa, right. Yep. How the game used to be played. They teach you the fundamentals the right way. Now, another part of it is they take a lot of 0 through 3-star recruits and turn them into pros.
Yep.
And that's a slower process a lot of times. Guys take longer to develop. But, yeah, for the most part, it's the lack of the quarterback and a dual threat quarterback, in my opinion, which that goes back to old school football. But, yeah, we saw what Iowa could do this year. I know they finished 8-4 and could have been a lot better, but, they were right there in the mix. But you saw what Iowa could do with a running quarterback this year.
Yeah. Well, then looking back when I was in college, when Banks was a quarterback, when they were, number 4 in the country and, tied for the Big Ten championship. There wasn't a Big Ten championship game then. It happened to be just Ohio State went on to win the national championship. So they got sent to the Orange Bowl instead of a chance to play for the whole thing. Their one loss was to Iowa State until they ran into USC at the Orange Bowl. And Banks there, runner up in the Heisman, dual threat, obviously really good running back in Fred I think it was Fred Russell at the time. Obviously, lineman, Dallas Clark, Robert Gallery was, they had it humming right there. That they had really, really good players, and that was just right when Ferentz was taking off. But it comes down to the quarterback. Their quarterback just isn't good enough to get it over the hump. 10-win season, 11-win season, but just can't compete with those top teams, but yet have 2 or 3 All-Americans every year. I think I was looking at the Pro Bowlers. I think there was 5 or 6. It was Jack Campbell, Tristan Wirfs, Linda Bull, the center from the Ravens, Kittle. You just go down the list. And then there's, Laporta was probably on his way to be until he got hurt. He was really good. So, they know how to coach, and they know what it is. Unfortunately, they can't get that the most important position in all of sports. They can't get right, unfortunately. They were close to getting it right this year, but just a little bit short.
And part of the problem, too, is not just quarterback, but they haven't had really good receivers since DJK and McNutt.
Right.
When Stanzi year was there. So if you're a receiver, a high recruit, you don't want to go to Iowa.
But that's a chicken or the egg thing.
Well, it is. It works both ways.
Yeah. If you had a really good quarterback, receivers would go.
Yeah, exactly.
But yet, if you don't have any receivers, no good quarterback's going to come. So that's a chicken and the egg thing.
It is. This year, I feel like if we would have had DJK and McNutt on the team, we probably could have won at least another game or two. I think most people would feel that way.
Yep, I agree.
But, that's not how it worked out. So, no, the quarterback's the most important position. We know that. That's no secret in football at any level. You have to have the quarterback play going right. I just hope moving forward, Kirk's going to stay another year, which is good. And then obviously, real quick, LeVar is going to go to Michigan State. Now that's a short-term, big-time loss for Iowa, but long-term, he might come back and be the replacement potentially.
Obviously, in-house, it has been decided that Seth Wallace is the guy. Don't you think? Like, he's the assistant head coach. When Ferentz was suspended for that game, they cheated to get McNamara, which is a whole funny mess. But Seth Wallace was the head coach. So again, they don't owe this to us, and I will never know, and I should never know. I would love to know the conversation. LeVar going to Kirk, hey, I got this opportunity. I think I'm going to take it. Or was it Kirk Ferentz almost talking to LeVar, hey, this is an opportunity you need to look at. If you want a chance to come back here, you have to go. Because he's never been anywhere else. Played there, and then went and played in the NFL, and then came right back to Iowa City, and then worked his way up from like volunteer assistant to, special teams coordinator. Was Kirk telling him to go do it? Or was LeVar saying, hey, I need to go do this?
Probably both, but my guess is Kirk encouraged it. Say, hey, this is a good opportunity for you to go get some experience outside of Iowa, as you just mentioned. And if you do good for 2 or 3 years, obviously you'll have a chance to get the Iowa job. But if not, you'll have an opportunity to go elsewhere too.
Yep.
So, because you can't, unless he wanted to, of course, you can't stay in that position for forever.
Right.
Unless you're comfortable, and most coaches aren't. They want to move up the ladder. So I would imagine Kirk encouraged him to go. Like I said, it's short term. I'm pretty worried about it, but long term, maybe it could be a good thing where he comes back and we know who we're getting type of deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if him and Fitzgerald go to Michigan State and they start winning, and they get them back to where they were with Mark D'Antonio and competing for Big Ten championships. When that time comes in 2 or 3 years, when I think it's going to happen, I don't know, but he's going to have a good argument to come back and be the head guy. Hey,
absolutely.
I left. Michigan State was kind of a mess. I helped get them back. I can do it here too. And I can do it here. I did it here for 20 years. And now I went somewhere else and did it. And like you said, if he doesn't get that job, it does go to Seth Wallace. Maybe Seth Wallace brings him back as the assistant head coach, special teams coordinator or whatever. Or like you said, maybe he does go take, he's successful at Michigan State and Kirk stays 6 years and doesn't want to wait 6 years. And he takes a Ball State job. And, then if he wins there, then obviously you can about name your job.
Yeah, I just feel bad. He has to go to such a terrible program like
Michigan. I know. They're always ranked last in your book.
With those ugly uniforms and that ugly stadium, I just, that hurts my feelings a little bit. But no, I actually think Michigan State, potentially they might be getting this thing back on track.
Yeah, Fitzgerald is good. Northwestern just has to be looking back. And I think they had to do what they did, but I do think they jumped the gun. I think they could have just suspended him for a while and let it play out, maybe suspend him for that season, and that would have been okay. And then, do your findings and then reinstate him next year. But I think it was a bad time. It was coming off 2020. Northwestern is Northwestern. Yes, it's in the Midwest, but it's in Chicago. Chicago is different than most places around the Midwest. And the president and the board or whoever just could not handle that being said or about their university or believe the wrong people. Because obviously this was found in the court of law to be untrue, not just he said, she said in a, Northwestern versus Fitzgerald. This went to law, the court of law, and Northwestern essentially had to apologize to Fitzgerald.
Yeah, that was back when everybody was getting canceled for just even being alive, basically. So that was a different time. Yeah, you're right. Northwestern has to be kicking themselves over that one, looking back on it. But Michigan State, I think they've done a heck of a job from what they've done here recently. So we'll see if he gets them back on track. But unfortunately, I think he's going to, which pains me to say, but I think Michigan State's going to be pretty good as long as Fitzgerald's there.
Will you take them off of being the 18th ranked school or not?
No, never.
Hey, stand by your ground. I'm all for that. All right, that's probably enough college. We're already 42 minutes in. We can ramble forever. Let's go to the NFL first. Kind of sum up the last couple weeks. Since we really haven't talked about the NFL at all, that's just, I watch it. I'm more interested this year in the NFL, and you can only imagine why, than the last few years. The last few years just been what draft pick are we going to get? How bad are we? But obviously with the Bears very much in play for the number one seed, and a huge game coming up on Sunday night, especially with the 49ers winning last night. But just kind of the recap the last few weeks, Mahomes' injury, Chiefs' future, and then, looking forward to playoff picture, teams that are still alive, but maybe definitely on life support, whatever you want to talk about for a few minutes here.
I mean, first of all, with the Chiefs, they're officially eliminated from the playoffs.
Yep. You're still going to bet on them, but they are eliminated.
I still might pick them to win the Super Bowl. I haven't decided yet, even though they can't. So I still have to consider that. They're going to have to own draft picks. And their next chapter of the Mahomes era is coming. It's one of the greatest 7-year runs in NFL history, what they did. I see a lot of people writing them off. Listen, when Mahomes comes back, the first month or two is going to be rough. I have a feeling it's going to take him a while to get comfortable with that injury and just trust himself. But, if someone forced me to make a bet, I bet he wins another Super Bowl before he's retired. Yeah. Maybe multiple. So I'm not writing them off long term, but they're going to have to replenish, the stock and specifically the running back room, because Mahomes can't be a leading rusher, especially coming off an ACL and all that type of stuff. So they're going to have to get on draft picks, going toward the playoffs, the teams that are still alive. Obviously, the Niners with Brock Purdy, and then, of course, your Bears with Caleb Williams. They have a big game coming up. that you spoke about, and potentially could be for the number 1 seed. The thing about the playoffs this year, and we spoke about it before. I took a break, of course, for a few weeks on here. Is it's wide open, in my opinion, NFC and AFC. If you're a fan of a team or really like a team, I mean, you can make an argument that maybe minus the Steelers and minus either the Panthers or Bucks, whoever gets in, outside of that, you could make an argument that any of those teams could get to the Super Bowl in either conference.
Yeah, I mean, just Jacksonville looks really good, which you would have never thought them. And they've beaten some good. They beat the Chiefs, Broncos. They didn't look good this last week, but they're right there. And Steelers are looking better. They were ready to fire Tomlin and send him to Penn State. They've won 3 in a row. Just teams like that. Are the Ravens. My Ravens and Lions pick doesn't look so good anymore. I do think this Josh Allen, he needs to get to the Super Bowl this year. I don't know if they have the team to do it, but Mahomes isn't there, so it's his turn if he wants a chance.
It really is. I mean, Mahomes isn't going to be there. Burrow's not going to be there. More than likely, Lamar is going to be out. It's not over yet, but more than likely, he won't be in there either. So it is the year. This does feel like one of the the lesser talented teams he's played on in a while, but he's got all the experience outside of Rodgers. But I don't think the Steelers are going to go on a run in the playoffs. Could they win a game at home? Yes, but I don't see them winning 2 or 3. That's just my opinion on the Steelers. This is the year for Josh Allen to get it done. I hope he does, because I bet the Bills before the season started, as with the Lions. Doesn't look like the Lions are going to get in. They're not officially eliminated. They still could, I guess. But no, this is the year for the Bills. And I don't know, that second half that they had versus the Patriots, when they won that game, it felt like something clicked. Teams get hot toward the end of the season. And I mean, look at the Bucks and the Colts. They start out as hot as anybody, and they're fading as fast as anybody is fading. So teams change, and the last 3 to 4 weeks of the season, young players can start playing better. You get players back from injury. All those type of things can happen. So yeah, it does feel like this needs to be the time for the Bills. The problem is they could be on the road the entire time.
Right. Yep. I 100% agree with that. Yeah, because they just don't have enough wins to get home games. And with New England being there in their division, then Denver being 10-4, I think they just don't have enough wins and can't get enough.
Yeah, they just, time's running out. I mean, the way they're playing right now, they probably could have been able to make something happen. But yeah, I mean, they're going to need to hope for a couple upsets, obviously, in the AFC playoffs. That way, maybe they could somehow get a home playoff game if it came down to the AFC Championship game. Let's say it's them versus maybe the Chargers, because they'll probably both be wild cards. So maybe it'll be something like that. But no, the playoffs should be a lot of fun. And then, going back to the NFC, your Bears, why not, right? I mean, they can run the ball. They take the ball away from the other team.
Yep.
Caleb doesn't turn it over. He's not always great the first few quarters.
He's a fourth quarter guy.
But I'd rather have a fourth quarter guy than, a guy that shrinks in those moments. So
Bo Nix is kind of like that for Denver too.
They're both, they're very similar in that facet, where they kind of struggle the first half or the first 3 quarters, and then they come alive toward the end of the game. And I'd rather have that, honestly, because that's when it counts, right? I mean, I'd rather have a guy be good late than the first couple quarters when it's easier. So playoffs are looking good. I mean, yeah, the Lions are still alive, I guess, but even if they get in, I don't trust them. They're just off this year. They're off. Their window hasn't officially closed, but it's temporarily closed, I would say.
Is it showing how much Ben Johnson was obviously leader of the offense, but maybe more of what that team was built around and kind of some of the more day-to-day stuff than you think?
Oh, 100%. I mean, people keep bringing up Jared Goff's season-long stats, which are good, But if you've watched the Lions this year, they're not the same. They're just not. I mean, I've been rooting for them because I like Dan Campbell, and financially, I bet him before the season. So I have rooting interest in the Lions. They're not the same team this year.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just, and when you lose an all-time coordinator like that, and also good for Ben Johnson because he waited a couple years before he took a job.
Yep.
And he got a lot of shit for it. And looking back, I mean, he made the right decision. If you're wanted like that, you don't necessarily have to take the worst of the worst jobs. You can wait and pick and choose a little bit. And he made the right decision, obviously.
Yeah, he chose the quarterback and he chose the team. And, speaking of the Bears just a little bit, they're making a play to go to Indiana. The Chiefs are making a play to go to Kansas City. And I think or go to Kansas on the Kansas side of Kansas City, which would be, I understand it, but it'd be heartbreaking. I've been to a lot of games at Arrowhead over the years. Haven't been there in quite a while, but there was a time there where I was going to one most every year. And it's just these owners have all the power and they can just, especially on these teams that are close to different places in different states. And it's just a bidding war and which government is going to give me more money. And it's really hard to watch these billionaires get free stuff from the government. But
yeah.
It's just it's real life. And I'm not saying they should get anything like the roads and the infrastructure needed to build the stadium. And unfortunately, what everybody wants, and this is why the Chiefs want to move, I really don't think it's Arrowhead Stadium that's the problem. There's nowhere because of the other stadium right there right now. There's nowhere to build the entertainment area. They want to build it like Baseball Village in St. Louis, like Titletown in Green Bay, SoFi Stadium, the Star. They don't want these entertainment districts. Iowa State's building one. They all want that's where the money's made. Chicago and Wrigleyville. The Ricketts family has bought everything around it so they can make money outside of baseball or outside of the sport. And that's what all these teams want and need is different revenue sources. And they need the government to build the infrastructure for that. And some are agreeing to it and some are not.
Yeah, it sucks to see, especially for like Arrowhead, because Arrowhead's an old school stadium, a lot of history there. It's one of the last, stadiums with history, kind of like a Lambeau Field type of deal. You would have never thought that they would have done this, but they did. And it does sound like they're going to build a dome stadium.
And that's the other thing. They're all domes in this northern climate now because when you build a new stadium, you are going to get a Super Bowl. That's kind of been a deep, dark. I don't even think it's a secret. I think it's just a reality. Kansas City, if they build the dome stadium in the first 5 years they have it, there will be a Super Bowl there. Whenever the Bears build their new stadium, if it has a dome or is covered, they will have the Super Bowl there. And then they can also have Final Fours there. They can also have big-time concerts there in the wintertime. It's just the reality of doing business. Lambeau, when they redid all that, you could not put a dome on Lambeau. I just really think Green Bay just would have fought that tooth and nail. They don't want a Super Bowl. They want their Packers. They want to have it outside in the NFC Championship game. They want their team to win it in the cold. That's what they want. They would rather have that than the Super Bowl. I really believe that. But all these other towns, and not one person owns Green Bay. That's the other thing. It is people own that. So it's not one owner trying to make money. So that's different in Green Bay as well. But yeah, they're going to build a dome stadium in Kansas City. They're going to build a dome stadium in Chicago. They will have the Final Four and the Super Bowl within the first 5 years of those buildings being built. I promise you.
Yeah. If you build a dome stadium now, or if you're in a southern state, you're getting the Super Bowl, just like you said. So that's the incentive to do that. For the Chiefs, I heard it's a really lopsided deal. I read an article. Now, all the details haven't come out yet. I don't think it's going to change, of course, but it's going to be like 10,000 less seats. There's going to be a lot more suites, which is pretty normal nowadays. And again, going to NFL games, I mean, unless you're rich or unless somebody gives you tickets, it's a tough place to go and afford to go to a game nowadays. And it's only going to get worse probably. And, NFL games and college may get to this point too, which it probably already has. But
college is getting there.
Yeah.
My check keeps going up every year.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's only for the rich to go to these games. I mean, unless you want to step in the nosebleeds type of deal. So, yeah, the Chiefs and the Bears moving, we knew it potentially could happen. The Chiefs, I wasn't really paying attention to the Chiefs as much, so I was slightly surprised. I mean, not shocked by any means, but they're not moving far. That's not the point. It's just not going to be playing at Arrowhead anymore. That's going to be kind of sad, but that's not until 2031, which is the expected date. So Chiefs fans still have a little bit of time to go enjoy Arrowhead.
Yeah, and I would assume that their lease is through 2031. And the Bears are the same way. I mean, those stadiums, the way they're built now, I mean, that's a 3 to 4 year process in building them. They're just so big. And I mean, it's just the reality of it. So you have to be breaking ground several years before you need it. Just because of the construction it takes to build it. Anything else in the NFL that you want to hit?
No, I think that's probably good enough. I mean, Phillip Rivers, there's talk that, what if he comes back next year because Daniel Jones is going to be hurt and Anthony Richardson is not ready to play. I hope he does. It's probably a long shot, but I would love it if he decided to come back and be a stopgap quarterback next year for the Colts. But besides that, on the NFL, I mean, I think we've kind of covered everything. Once we get through the holidays here, Christmas and New Year's, we'll kind of get back on our normal schedule.
Yep.
And then, of course, we'll know the playoffs. I'll have a mock draft ready sometime in January, an updated one with the draft order. There's some players that are rising, players that are falling. With the NFL, a lot of people are wondering if Dante Moore and Ty Simpson are going to declare or not. Obviously, we'll wait to see what they decide. But outside of Mendoza, I mean, there's not a lot of first-round quarterbacks that people are looking at. So it's if the Giants get the first overall pick, they could get the farm for that.
Yeah.
And that's
I agree.
I mean, it's
with Phillip Rivers. What does this say? I look at it maybe a little bit different. Watching him play the last couple of weeks, he's better than half the quarterbacks in the league still. I don't care what you say. I think he is. What do you think?
I would agree, and I think a lot of it has to come down to is, college football has been more spread. It's less under center, and there's less development. It's just, if we have 4 or 5 really good receivers, we'll just spread you out, and it's kind of it's easy pickings, right? Where in the NFL, you can't really do that. So, it's probably a wake up call to the NFL and college of how you want to develop quarterbacks and who you want to scout. A guy can have all the talent in the world, but if he can't read the defense before the snap, it really doesn't matter, right?
And that's what it all comes down. That was going to be my point is you don't have to be, I mean, you need to be athletic. Don't kid yourself, but you don't have to be a great athlete. It's all between the ears and reading the defense and seeing it before the ball's even snapped. That's what you have to do. Brock Purdy is not the biggest, best athlete out there, but he works super hard and he's super smart and he can read it and he sees it. And that's why he's been so successful in the NFL. And, Tom Brady was that way. Some of the best ever, Mahomes is that way. Now he's a pretty good athlete. And I think you're seeing the last, week and a half of the Chiefs not playing what all he does for that team. They're not good without him and only not him. The offense, the defense has had they got some guys not playing, but on offense, it's just been not him playing. But it just goes to show you how important that quarterback is. But I'm with you. It just goes to show you that these college quarterbacks that are coming in, number 1, 2, 3 pick in the draft, and they're not as good as a 45-year-old quarterback that hasn't played in 5 years. what does that say about your league and about what your development? Anthony Richardson was number 4 pick in the draft and the best athlete ever in the quarterback position in the combine. Well, he can't play. I mean, that's just what it is. He can't play quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, and one of the few bright spots of NIL and college players getting paid is guys like Dante Moore and Ty Simpson and others. They will go back for another year.
Yeah, they don't have to go to the NFL. Yeah, absolutely.
They don't have to. So maybe that'll correct itself just naturally because guys will go back for another year. They'll get paid. They'll get 12 to 15 more starts under their belt. And then when they get to the NFL, they'll be more ready. But, yeah, there's definitely a disconnect right now where you can be a great athlete, and that helps. But you see old man Phillip Rivers out there. As long as he can read the defense before the snap, I mean, he, like you said, he's better than half the league right now, it seems like.
And so you look at these first or second, like Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, and Brock Purdy's just a little bit on the other side of it, but these guys are still big guys. They're still 6'3", 6'4". Purdy is not that, but Caleb Williams is still 6'3". Phillips Rivers is 6'5", 250 pounds. That matters. I don't care what anybody says. That matters. Bryce Young, 5'8", 5'9", 195 pounds. Just doesn't work in the NFL. I just truly believe that. And it's not anybody's fault. It's not. It's just there's certain, just body types that if you want to be a 15-year NFL quarterback, look at the history. Aaron Rodgers is your 6'3", 6'4" guy. And he's 20 years in the league. The guys that last for 20 years are all the same body type.
Yeah, for the most part, you got to be, at least 6'1" or 6'2" and above, and a certain weight. I mean, there's been a few shorter guys that have succeeded. There's always outliers, but
right.
For the most part, you have to be a certain height and weight. That goes for all positions too. I mean, left tackles, D tackles, you have your outliers, but it's a big man sport. So little quarterbacks are kind of getting. Seems like they're kind of getting faded out. There was a time where they were real popular with Russell Wilson and Kyler and some of these other guys, and obviously Bryce Young is having a nice season, but can it last 10 years type of deal?
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's not that they can't be good for a 5-year stretch, but if you want your quarterback to be there for 15 to 20 years, there's this distinct body type. Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers are all within 2.5 inches of each other. And Rivers is heavier now, and Brady was heavier when he was younger than he did finish his career. Just his health nuttiness took over. But Aaron Rodgers isn't a small guy. I mean, he's not big, but he's not a small guy. He's 220 pounds, I bet. I mean, it's just what he is.
Yeah, and I think NFL teams are going to start reevaluating quarterbacks. I know I was going to be on last week, but I couldn't. But that goes back to that Diego Pavia. Not only take away all his nonsense, off the field. Is he 5'9" or 5'8"? I mean, I don't even know if he's going to get drafted, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. I suppose somebody will take him late, but with his nonsense and his physical skills or physical tools, is not skills, he could play. I mean, I'm not saying he's just not a quarterback in the NFL. I think he could be he be a Taysom Hill type guy? Maybe. Bring him in a certain package, play a little tight end, H-back, itch, maybe. I don't know if he has that mentality to do that. But I'm not saying there's not a position in the NFL for him, but it's not quarterback full time.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be willing to almost bet that he doesn't even get drafted, and it's a lot of people are rooting for Iowa just that's one of the better bowl games. Not that there's many, but that's one of the ones that people would be paying attention to, kind of rooting against him type of deal, because he kind of made a fool of himself, and he's got the family stuff, getting in fights, and that. If you thought Shedeur Sanders got screwed. Whether you believe it or not, right or wrong, Diego Pavia, it's only going to be worse because, like I said, he's undersized to begin with, and then you have all the off-field stuff. Shedeur is a typical size quarterback, and we saw him fall the 5th round.
And you knew Shedeur could play. Like, he was successful at more than one stop. You knew his dad. I mean, his dad was involved probably too much, but his dad is an all-timer in the NFL and knows what it takes to play in the NFL. Now, talent takes over, but he had every opportunity to be the best he could be, and he probably really has maxed out his talent. I mean, you can't just make an NFL quarterback. And he got drafted, not where he wanted to, but he got drafted, and he started games in the NFL his rookie year. That's pretty freaking good.
Yeah, especially for a 5th round pick. So
yeah.
Well, like I said, after the holidays get over, we'll kind of know the NFL draft order, minus the playoff teams, of course, and the college football playoff will kind of take place. We'll kind of get back to our normal schedule. Like I said, I'll do another mock draft, and we'll kind of get back on track a little bit. But
the holidays are hard. I mean, it just is.
It is.
Yeah, it's Tuesday night, and especially with the holiday being on Thursday. So obviously Christmas Eve night on Wednesday, we don't want to do it. New Year's Eve night at 9:00, we don't want to do it. I mean,
that's not going to happen. But
I'm out. So
it's good we were able to catch up and finally kind of cover some topics. And then, like I said, once January gets here, we'll kind of get back to a just normal schedule.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we'll wrap it up here just over an hour. Just, want to tell everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll most likely find a time next week. No promises, but most likely find some time early next week to get here. Thanks everybody for listening. Just share it with people you might think like the show. This time of year's, there's a lot of driving. I listen to podcasts on my drives. And I know you do too. And you like those long form ones because you have long drives and stuff. But just, share it with people you think might like it. And then rate, review, subscribe at your podcast. Go to YouTube and watch it. Just thanks everybody for watching or listening. And again, just can't say Merry Christmas enough. And thank you.
Yep. You said it best. Merry Christmas. Thanks everybody. And we'll talk to you next week.
All right. See you later, Trev.
All right. Have a good one.